And now it says what values, or what's the lowest point on my graph? What's the lowest point on this graph? 0, 0. We don't have any negatives. Do you guys see that? There's a solid dot that starts this graph. Because you guys told me I cannot square root negative numbers, right? This results in an error. We can't do that right now. Okay, so what values of x does the function use? This is describing domain. What would you say for the domain?
Positive infinite numbers?
Yeah, positive infinite numbers. Yeah, so x has to be greater than or equal to 0. I have to use all the positives. So I'm going to say x is greater than or equal to 0. How about the range here? What are the y values for this function? 0 to infinity? Yeah, I'm going to use all the positive y values. So I'm going to say y is greater than or equal to 0. So this is our new parent function. It's the square root function. Okay, and then we're going to do some different transformations. So if you look at number 4, we'll start this one together. For a, what are the transformations? It's got the square root of x plus 3 and then plus 1 on the outside. How would you describe those transformations? They're positive. One's going to be positive. We're going to go up 1. What does the plus 3 on the inside do? Left or right? Left. So we'll describe, this is left 3 and up 1. Okay, and what we're going to be exploring is some reflections today. So today it says use your knowledge from previous lessons to graph each of the following functions. We're going to do Desmos. It says without Desmos. We're going to do Desmos today. When you're done, we're going to check our graphs. So right now, I'd like you to use Desmos. We did this on Friday. I want you to graph some of the whole points.
Yeah.
So we do need a Chromebook at our group.
What do you mean?
I'm going to help you. I'll be there in a minute. Okay? So let's start with the square root of x. Here it is graphed on Desmos. For 4a, it says y equals the square root. If you click this keyboard at the bottom, you can pull up the square root. X plus 3 plus 1. Okay? And on Friday, I showed you how to make a table. It'll produce a table for you. It'll produce a table. So right now, I'm going to give you about 5 to 7 minutes to do the next 4 graphs, and then we'll check in and discuss. Okay, let's talk about part B then. We just talked about it on the TV screen. This has been reflected over our x-axis. So it's a reflection over the x-axis. The domain, well, all the x's are going to be going in the positive infinity direction. So x is going to be greater than or equal to 0. But the y is going to change. Now that's reflected over, all the y's are going to be less than or equal to 0. Okay, so if you got stuck on graph B, that's okay. Right now I want you to go do graph C and D. I'm going to give you some more time. Please go work on graph C and D. What questions do we have about reflections? On Friday we took parabolas, we went left, right, up, down. Today we added in reflections. Questions? Anybody still need time graphing? Yes, sir. So for C, our original parent function is this. That's our parent function from number 1, right? So then it's been reflected over my y-axis. Good question. So it went over there. Okay, so we're always going back to that parent function from number 1. Okay, so if I were to graph the parent function here, you would see this went over the y-axis and then over the x-axis, or you could say the other way too. Okay, we're always starting from our parent function. Other questions? Good questions. We are. We can close the Chromebooks. You can keep them out because you can still use them on your homework. We're going to go to our quick notes. Negative inputs. So let's just sketch a parent graph. If you weren't here Friday, a parent graph is like the original. Okay, and I'm going to focus on these 3 points. The square root of 0 is 0, the square root of 1 is 1, the square root of 4 is 2. Those are always the easiest 3 points to graph. When I'm talking about the parent graph, y equals the square root of x. This lowest point is our starting location, or our starting point. You'll notice it determines your domain and range, especially when you're just shifting left, right, up, and down. So I can describe the domain for this function as x is greater than or equal to 0. I can describe the range as y is greater than or equal to 0. And that's our parent graph. We started by shifting it left, right, up, down. And today we added in reflections. Reflections. We've got 2 types of reflections. We can take our function and make the outputs opposite, which causes a reflection over the x-axis. I could take my original function and I could change all the inputs so that they're negative, which would cause your graph to reflect over the y-axis. So I think it's special to note, where is this negative sign? In the first one, it's on the outside of the function. In the second one, it's on the inside of the function, which causes a different reflection. So we're either reflecting over x or over y. And that last one, you guys saw we did both. What's happening in A? Left 5. That's it, left 5. What's happening in B? We've got a negative on the outside of the function. So remember, a negative on the outside of the function, we're going to reflect over the x-axis. Anything else happening? Oh, you can't see that. Right 3, good. Sorry, forgot that. Things on the screen. So we're going to reflect over the x-axis, and then you guys said right 3. Number 2 says write the equation from the graph. So now we have a graph. It's important to find that locator point. So the lowest point on the graph is at 4, 3. Remember, our original graph starts at 0, 0 and looks like this. So how would you describe it? What's happening in words? Right 4 and up 3. Good job. So now let's put that into the function. Right 4, is that going to be plus or minus 4? And then On the outside of the function, we're going to go up 3. So I'm going to write plus 3 on the outside of the square root. Questions?